back at Seward Park for the Thursday night 5:30 Criterium. Same as always, this was my birthday actually, June 13th. We got a bunch of teammates in this race. Joe right in front of us, Mark in the blue helmet with the brand new Bianchi, the totally sweet bike, and Bailey, who is, I believe, probably behind me and to the right, and you'll see him shortly. He's also got a white helmet. And it was a super fun race. I'm probably not going to talk that much throughout this one, just because I also have the Volunteer Park video to get through. But it was a really fun race. There was just total chaos, head to toe basically. It was a big field with a lot of people who aren't out here regularly, and as a result of that, there were just attacks going basically the entire time from like lap 1. Actually, you can kind of see a couple people are trying to sneak off the front right now at the very beginning of the race. It did get a little confusing later on in the race though, because there was always people attacking, but there were also a lot of folks that were dropped or lapped riders during the race. And later on in the race, as you'll see, it can get kind of confusing about who up the road is a dropped rider, who is a rider who's attacking off the front, and that is kind of a nightmare to try to manage, especially in the last couple laps. So, despite all that, it was lovely weather, lots of teammates out here racing with us, and a super fun race. And I will probably be back to talk through maybe one of the preems and then the finish. So my spidey senses were kind of tingling a little bit here. There was a couple guys off the front, and I felt like we were far enough into the race that a preem lap was probably coming up. So I definitely wanted to move at least up to the start of this, or to the beginning of this main pack, and then make sure that I, or one of my teammates at least, or someone else, is keeping these couple of guys off the front on a pretty tight leash. So I'm putting in a little effort here to get to the front of this group. I'm going to be like third or fourth wheel, and we'll see if it pays off. I want to just make sure that a break group of like 3 guys doesn't go and then end up just getting the first preem basically for free. And sure enough, that's the first preem lap. These are not always on the same laps of the race or the same amount into the race, but they tend to follow a pretty consistent pattern that if you race at Seward a lot, you get used to. Well, the power is lagging behind a little bit there. So we were like 10 minutes into the race almost, and there hadn't been a preem, and so felt like there was going to be one. These 2 guys seem like they're pushing on this descent. I can't remember if we maybe had a tiny little gap to the guys behind us. It's quite possible that was the case. But they're definitely pushing, and it's kind of rough because I'm right where I want to be. I'd maybe want to be 1 or 2 wheels back here, but I'm not eating any wind on this false flat really, and I am in a really good position to respond to attacks that will go here. But these guys being in the first or second wheel is so rough. I mean, the guy in front of him pulled off, and he's basically just leading me out into the hill now here. This was kind of a nervy moment. I felt like I was maybe going to get squeezed off. I kind of just give this Apex guy the wheel. It's a little weird out here right now because this truck is on the left side, but these guys, for some reason, don't go to the left side at all. That is a little bit of a risky move for me because I was almost squeezed off by that rider in the white jersey there. But it looks like I'm quite a ways back from this guy. I was less far back than it looks like. I was able to get a pretty good draft going here, even from that distance, and I really felt like I was going to be able to slingshot off of him pretty hard, and sure enough, I'm able to just put in a little push, come around him. Now, my heart rate is definitely a little higher than I want it to be here. This is the advantage of going for the first preem, though, is I know now, hey, I'm not going to go for the second preem. My plan was actually not even to go for the first preem and just really try to win the race because it's my birthday and I really wanted to win the race. But I saw an opportunity there, got that 1 season point and $20 or whatever, and I now have 15 minutes effectively to try and sit in the group and get my heart rate back down. And I really am just going to freewheel for a second here. This does, if I remember correctly, kind of almost backfire because I sit so far back in the group that there are little splits in the next 5 or 10 minutes here, and so I had to do a couple of smaller efforts that I wouldn't have really wanted to do just to make sure that I was in the main group and able to be in the mix for the end. But I don't go for the second preem here. I can't actually remember who gets it. It might have been just another group that was off the front. These guys, again, just thinking about, oh, can we roll off the front? Like I said, there's just always dropped riders, always riders attacking today for some reason.
on, JC.
Now here's something a little frustrating. With 2 laps to go, coming around this turn, one of these riders kind of almost hits the curb. I don't know if he did hit the curb or what. That was kind of unfair of me. I wasn't really yelling at anyone in particular. That was just a really nervy moment. But the group was already pretty spread out, actually. And I don't know if you heard, Bailey, I think behind me, said something like, "Oh shit." We kind of lost some time there because now the gaps ahead are really big. You know, when you're not able to carry speed through that corner and not able to sprint out of it effectively, we have to do another acceleration, and I'm a little tiny bit panicky. Not super so. I'm able to still be moving up here, but this is definitely a slightly bigger effort than I wanted to be. You know, I lost a couple wheels effectively for nothing there, and I didn't want to have to eat any wind there. And I ended up eating wind for, I don't know, 5 or 6 seconds or something. So not the biggest deal in the world, obviously, but not ideal with 2 laps to go. And I'm definitely thinking, okay, I want to move up like 1 or 2 spots on this hill here. I kind of thought about opening up on the left, but especially with that truck there's just not going to be room. And then I end up moving up a little further than I wanted to. I think part of why I did this is that I still wasn't sure if there was 1 or 2 guys off the front. That rider up there in particular, I didn't know if that rider was off the front. And then I also just, people had been really nervy through this section here, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, I'm giving some wheels back here, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't having to really hard defend my positioning. It does come back to bite me a little bit, especially, I mean, my heart rate's just a tiny bit higher than I'd like it to be going into this last lap. But generally, you know, being third wheel is not perfect, but not terrible going into the last lap. The rider in front of me, though, ends up kind of squeezing his brakes, and then this rider in the orange jersey just takes a flyer, sees that moment, and tries to send it, which is definitely the correct thing to do. I clearly was not on exactly the right wheel. People are coming by me on the left here, and I'm going to try to hop on Mark's wheel. It can be a little nerve-wracking to try and hop on someone's wheel coming on the left of you down the hill, because it's hard to tell sort of the relative speed. I yell at Mark to go up because I'm trying to make sure we close down this little thing, this was my mistake. I went up next to him and kind of overlapped with him instead of just trusting Mark and staying on his wheel. He was totally willing to do the effort there and did do the effort, and I should have just stayed on his frickin' wheel instead of being a bad teammate myself. Now this is another little mistake that I make, is getting just a little too boxed in here and opening up a little too late. I should have just gone right here. Chris goes, Bailey goes. Chris is this Dyna Racing guy. And, oh man, this is the moment I lost the race, is I just, for some reason, was not able to hold Chris's wheel. I don't know why I veered left there. I think if I had stayed in the draft and just put a little bit more power down, I could have stayed on his wheel. But those two get a gap, and I look back here, and I actually said fuck, because I realized, crap, I'm leading out the whole field, and it's really, really hard to, you know, not let anyone come around you. So I just make sure I'm keeping the inside line, but I just can't hold it that well, and 2 more people come around me. So I ended up in 5th. Bailey ended up winning for the 2nd week in a row. Pretty great team result. My brother Soren also won the 6 p.m. race later that evening. So, you know, great night for taco time. Little bit of a disappointing result for me.